Majesties. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning. Trust you and yours are well. Real Jews were sold on slave ships and scattered around the world. And this is what is pushing me to a particular phrase that states that the nation of Israel is a black diaspora. When we say black diaspora, it can be in America, be in any part of the world, in a continent or any part of the world. So the nation of Israel is a black diaspora. These are the words from those who have done the work and have understood that there is something. And that is exactly what we're delving into today, my majesties. Thank you so much for the support you give to the channel, to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you, my esteemed subscribers. You are loved, celebrated, and of course, appreciated. Now, I came across something of interest and I felt like, okay, let's deliberate more because already this is what I've been doing for a long time. It's as old as this channel. We've been talking about this whole situation and the fact that the state of Israel today, or those who are inhabiting that land today, are not the real people. We have a situation where people have come out boldly and say, okay, these are fake Jews. They are not the real Jews. So, and that's why we're saying that the real Jews are the ones that are being sold on slave ships around the world. They're the ones that have been scattered across the globe. So those who are in that particular region today are not the real Jews. There have been debates here and there. I've been having discussions here over the years. Okay, this is the 4th year on YouTube, and for these 4 years, I've been saying the same thing here over and over again. Most of you have heard it here before you begin to hear it from somewhere. Most of you have heard it from somewhere, and then you have a confirmation here. That is how it is, okay? But the truth is that I've been saying this for a very long time now. So it's not today, it's not yesterday, it's not last year, it's not last 2 years. Okay, so when we talk about the state of Israel as it is a state that was created in 1948. That was after the Balfour Declaration of how they're going to plan on how to move the Ashkenazi and give them a place in the continent of Africa or any part that is within the heart of the continent. And mind you, the Middle East is not East Africa. When we say the Middle East, we're talking about Africa's extension. That is still Africa, and that's why it's called the Middle East. If not, Middle East of where? Have you find time to ask the question or go back to older maps to verify that Middle East is Northeast Africa. Okay, even though it's been pillaged, it's been, there have been a lot of invasion. Israel have been invaded almost 7 to 8 times by different race of people. So tell me, people that have been invaded 7 to 8 times by different race of people, how do you think they're going to be the original? We've talked a lot about the Arabs here and how they feel that they want to conquer the whole of Middle East and the north parts of Africa. And this is a pushback that the Persian Empire had with the Iranians. This is the pushback that the Persian Empire had with the Arabs when first they came to their shores with a religion called Islam. The Iranians or the Persians, they accepted the religion, but till today, there is a pushback against Arabization. Okay, and I give it to them, and that's why I keep using them as an example or the emergence of this war. That even though the Iranians accepted Islam, they didn't accept Arabization. They told the Arabs that they have their own culture. They have their Persian-rich cultures and tradition. They are not going to forfeit those cultures for any religion. Yes, we are going to accept the religion. We will practice Islam, but we are not practicing it according to your terms. Unlike the Africans or African nations that accepted Islam, accepted Arab. Because they'll tell you, if you want to communicate to Allah, you need to use Arab. Arab is the holy language. Okay? They accepted Christianity and they accepted Europeanization. So you need to have a suit and a tie and hold a Bible before you are accepted. Or you're going to wear a skirt and then you're going to have a permed hair before you're going to be seen as somebody that will be accepted by the Almighty. So, as Africans lost their cultures and tradition at the process of accepting religion, the ancient Persians or the Iranians didn't lose their cultures and tradition. They accepted the religion and inculcated it. Like it has been interwoven with their own Persian rich cultures and tradition. Anyway, we're not talking about that. I think I had an intensive discussion here about the ancient Persian and how they gradually evolved into Iran and how they became Islam, because prior to this time, they were not Muslims that were invaded and forced, they were colonized by the Arab nations and forced religion on them. Okay, but the reason why we are here today, we are here for the real Jews, and let's listen to some of this information, and then we'll continue, My Majesties.
So, who are the real Jews?
The people who were the modern, yes, who are the descendants. So we know, and I believe, and I agree with you as a Christian, that God promised this land from modern day Iraq to modern day Egypt to this people, the Jews, to Abram's, actually not to Abram's descendants, as it says in Genesis 15. Who are his descendants now, and how do we know who they are?
But then if I'm going to go forth and say, well, you know, those that say that they are Jews but are in fact not, but are the synagogue of Satan, and the Ashkenazi are in fact not Jews, they are sons of Gomer, Japheth, they're not even Shemites. Many people have come to me and said, well, who are the real Jews then? Where are the Jews, and what's going on?
So I think it's fair to ask, who are they and how do we know? So the current prime minister's ancestors weren't from here within recorded history. He has no deed. Bibi Netanyahu, on one side, his family's from Poland. They're from Eastern Europe. So how do we know that he has a connection to the people who God promised the land to, Abram's descendants? How do we know that?
As I said, 92% of the people that say that they are Jews today are in fact Ashkenazi.
Netanyahu's parents did not speak Hebrew. Okay, they didn't live in this region. Netanyahu, the founders of this country, were mostly secular. Some of them were avowed atheists. They were not praying for the peace of Jerusalem. They weren't praying at all because they didn't believe in God. There's no genealogy linking their families to the people of this land 3,000 years ago. They're not.
Because what's happened is the Ashkenazi are in fact occupying the tents of Shem, the real Shemites. Shem's not there. It's the Zionist occupiers that are there.
So how do we know, since they didn't share a language, they didn't share a religion, they had no religion whatsoever, how do we know that they had a right to come here from Eastern Europe?
And if I'm right, it's 1982, and he didn't go by Benjamin Netanyahu back then. He went by whatever his more, European-sounded name was. He was Netanyahu by the 90s.
Why did he change his name?
Well, they all kind of, because the whole thing, Joe, is that they're all, Israel was a European, construct. They were made by a bunch of Europeans who came over and created Israel. But then they have to claim that they're the true Semitic people.
Is it true that genetic testing is outlawed there?
I believe that is true. I believe that's true. I mean, double check me on that, but I believe it's true.
We should definitely
you need
right
permission
now
from the government to go get DNA tests and stuff.
I don't understand, and you're very discouraged in the United States from asking this question for some reason. It's a foundational question. But I just want to get to the point that forms the basis of this whole conversation, which is who has a right to the land?
Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring you into Mitzrayim, Egypt again with ships. And the way of which I said to you, you shall see it no more again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies for slaves and female slaves, and no man shall buy you. And that is what happened to the regal class of the house of Judah. The history of slavery? Why? Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery as far back as the 16th and the 17th century? Why are they only going that far back? Because they don't want you to go farther back than that. Because then you'll actually find out the truth. And you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery? Because Islam designed infernal slavery. And then the Ashkenazi Khazars, those who say they are Jews and are not, are the ones that marketed it, and the regal Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans. Because you've got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans. And the black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility. And they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah. This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. And there were white Ashkenazi Khazar ship owners. There were the buyers and the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a 4-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads that were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. Number two, you had indigenous black African hunters that resented the regal Negro nomads that had come into their territory with their own customs, with their own laws that were different and would not assimilate into their tribal culture. They were their own tribe. They were the regal house of Judah. Number three, you had Islamic trappers that worked with the indigenous black Africans to trap the regal Negro house of Judah. And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi. You see, it's just like Al-Qaeda today.
My Majesties, I don't know if you were here up until this time, but there is a whole lot that had gone down here just within 5 minutes. And if you have time, we're going to break this down. And I'm going to take your mind back to some of the things I have been saying from the past. And that is why when you're here, I keep telling you that there is nothing that is not on this channel. Everything is here. And that's why I see most of the time I deliberately analyze people's opinion and discussions about life, about origins, about history, about the Black community around the world. Deliberately, I do that. Okay? And I keep telling you that whenever something does not resonate, you can just click off and go away. Okay? So that you don't get aggravated or get angry. All right? Now, there was a time I told you here that the chiefs who had come out, the Ghanaian chiefs who had come out to apologize for partaking in one way or the other in allowing their brothers and sisters to be sold into slavery. This is a chief. And when we talk about chief, we talk about, what do you call it? A royal bloodline, a royalty. And all these chiefs and kings, histories are passed down to them in their own way. Every kings and chiefs of any nations around the continent have their own way of passing down information. There is no way a chief will come out and say something that does not have iota of truth. Okay? When you talk about rich histories and you want to know about the truth about issues, go to ancient kingdoms. Go to the chiefs of the land. They have these knowledges in their archives. So for a chief, what I'm saying is for a chief to come out and apologize for partaking or his ancestors partaking, it's because it was written down somewhere that they did sold Black Africans. And when you look into the history of before now, you understand that there are a group of Black Africans who migrated into what we call the sub-Saharan Africa. Okay? They are Black like those who were already on ground. Okay? But they migrated from the north, okay, into the sub-Saharan Africa, into different countries in West Africa. There was a time also I told you about how our people migrated into West Africa. It's in particular, for those of you who were here before now, I told you a small story about my tribe. Okay? How they migrated into West Africa and got a place where they stayed. And then later on, they migrated from that place down into, the heart of a country in West Africa. I had told you that story here. The video is even there on the internet. It's there on my page. You can scroll down to check. It's there. The reason why I did a video about that migration is to let you know that those who had migrated into sub-Saharan Africa later, okay, are those who were earlier sold to slavery when those who were in before had the time or the chance to do that. Do you get what I'm saying? There were people who had inhabited these countries in West Africa and other parts who were here earlier before those who had migrated in from the northern part. Okay? They had come in from around Egypt into the heart or to sub-Saharan Africa. So there were people who they had met who were already on the land. They are black like them, woolly hair like them, melanated like them, okay, the same physique like them, but there was a hatred. And what was that hatred? That hatred was, where are you coming from? We were here before you, so we are the owner of this place. So there was already an internal fight here and there for land and property. So when the Europeans came in and they were looking for who to take out, that was when they liaised with these kings to give them people. And since already there was an internal war within these countries in the continent, countries in West Africa, those who were originally there before, who had come first, felt like they were the owners. So they said, saw nothing wrong with selling off those who just came recently. And this was how we had people of our line, of our clan, who were taken out and sold to different parts of the world. And these are the people that we are talking about. Okay? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but the message is already passed. If you're wise enough, you pick what I'm saying. All right? So, when you listen to some table, especially, what's the name of this? I'm going to leave the name on the screen. When you read this book thoroughly, and when he speaks about the Israelites or the Israelites, the real Hebrews, he still attested to the fact that the real Hebrews are black. Okay? The real Hebrews are black. And even those who were against them and work and sold them out were also black. For those who understand, you understand. I do not want to talk about this so long so that I do not create any enmity or again in the minds of anybody. But what we're saying here is that there are things that happen in history that points to the truth. And that's exactly what I'm trying to bring out here for you to get understanding of the situation that had happened in the past. So, yes, it's a fact because kings had come out to attest to this fact that some of their fathers and forefathers had worked with, Europeans and Americans and take out their own brothers and sisters. Of course, they look like them. Take them out and sold them to slavery. And the reason, if you ask questions, they will tell you that there was already an internal conflict within. And why was there an internal conflict? Because this group just came in and they also want to share the land with them. Okay. And so when there was an opportunity for them to be wiped out, like sent back to where they were coming from, no, like since there was an opportunity for them to, send them away so that they can have 100% authority over their land as they were having before, they felt like selling these people to the Europeans and Americans was the best option to get rid of them as they came. Okay, so some of us who were in the continent, we know our histories, we know where we're coming from, we know when we migrated into sub-Saharan Africa. All these histories are there for us. For my own consumption personally, I don't know for you if you've done your history and know how your own people came to where you're living at today, because we came from somewhere. We are melanated, of course. The continent is not a small continent. Africa is the largest continent. Okay, so where we are presently, where my tribe is presently, they migrated from somewhere. They were not there before. And I have grown to know that. I studied and I got to know. So you study and you get to know where your own tribe came from and why you are seated where you are today and how it has an effect on the conflict that was existing in the continent prior to Europe and America getting involved. And when they got involved, the fact remains that they had to get rid of those that were not with them from the beginning. I'm going to leave you here today. What do you think? Leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section. I'm going to see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive always. Your Majesties. Bye for now.